What's good, y'all? We are back with a new landing on Planet Rell. Green Lantern War Journal, issue 2. Let's get into it. So we start here in the Amazon rainforest, and it's a fire within the forest. And we see Varen, the same Green Lantern that John Stewart beat up in the last episode, with some other lanterns. Now the Lantern Koltek says that they shouldn't have come there since Earth, Sector 2814, is quarantined off. But this man Varen want to get his lick back. He want to shoot the ones again with John. He gonna get beat up. Now Koltek tells Varen like, bro, you was the one that wanted to capture John for your own glory, against orders. Then he starts to talk about what if they get caught by Lord Premier Tharos. But Varen cuts him off and says he wouldn't be the Lord Premier without his father. And he just not somebody that runs errands for him. Then Koltek like, bruh, if being a Green Lantern is so beneath you, then go back to your family's palace then. So Varen tells him like, I'm the middle child. And he says if he wants to rule his home world, he gotta put some time in with the lanterns he with now. Now we see why the Amazon rainforest was on fire. It's the same satellite that got destroyed and Shepard was talking about it during episode 1. Go check that out if you haven't. The link is in the description. Now the other lantern that Varen was with says that area is filled with hard light energy. And Koltek like, you said John Stewart did this, right? And Varen tells him that every ring in this quarantine zone is accounted for, but John Stewart still has a ring. And Varen is going to try to use that crash to prove that John has a ring, but he doesn't. Now the other lantern that's with him got told that John Stewart doesn't need a ring and that he has some type of unnatural gift. And Varen gonna say that there's nothing special about John, but he gets cut off by Koltek, and that's because he saw something move inside the wreckage. And Varen says it was just another Terran picking through the wreckage, and this what Terran means right here. And he gonna say he gets told that people still make nests in caves and within trees. Now he just continues to talk down on humans. He says look at the quote-unquote dominant species of this planet and imagine giving a human a ring thinking they're one of us. But he gets cut off, and this is definitely the Revenant Queen, and we see somewhat of her human form. And she says that she smells the stink of Oa on the lanterns. Then she attacks them, and she packs one of them up early. Then she goes after Koltek, and Koltek was asking Varen for help, but he gets packed up. Then we see Varen flying away like, bro, use a Green Lantern, you supposed to overcome fear and fight evil. And this made me think back to what John said to Varen when he beat him up. He said that Varen is no kind of lantern at all. This dude Varen has the ring for wrong reasons. And he says he's getting away because he's the next regent of Durla. This dude Varen is weak, bruh. Like, how you let your homies get killed, bruh? Like, he didn't help him at all. Now we see the Revenant Queen going to attack Varen, and it latches on to him. And he looks so scared, yelling at it to get away. Then she just slams him on the ground. And the Revenant Queen is like, you said a certain name. He must be close then. And by her dialogue right here, I just know she's finna change Varen to be a part of her Radiant Dead. She says that they're gonna punish the Guardian and the Builder, John Stewart, together. Now we're here in Metropolis with John and his mom at Steelworks Tower. And she looks around the place like, yo, like this amazing. And she asks John like, they called you for an interview? And John like, that's hard to believe, huh? And she like, I ain't mean it like that. Then somebody tells John's mom that he's highly recommended. And this John Henry Irons, Steel. And John definitely had to be recommended by Superman, because Superman and Steel have been working together. Now Steel says that he's heard that John is an actual pretty good architect when he's not saving the universe. And John tells him that he hears that Steelworks is where architects go to build a name for themselves. Now Steel compliments his mom, and he tells her that it was an honor to meet her, and he was a fan of her work with civil rights. Then John meets Jade Nakamura, and if you don't know, him and John Kent are together, Superman's son. Now Steel like, alright y'all, let me show y'all what we do here at Steelworks. Now they get into this workshop and John is like, yo, this look crazy. And Steel tells him this is just one of the several that they have. And the room that they are in is called the Thinking Cap, where the earliest concepts of everything they do start there. And Steel says that anything is possible within this room. Now they go in to look at a concept of a train called the Sky Rail, and they will use an energy source called Genesis to fuel it. It also will run on electromagnets, and they will be powerful enough to propel a train with no friction and no engine. And John tells him like, yo, that's impressive, dog. Now Stewart tells him that they want it to be a statement of what can be achievable, but they've had a few complications. And you see those complications over in Steel's actual series, Steelworks. And it was this dude trying to get revenge on him because the company he had plummeted because John quit that job. Now Stewart tells John that the train is not efficient as they want it to be, but he wants to hear John's thoughts so he can see what he thinks. Now John tells Stewart about his initial thoughts, and he says even if the train doesn't touch the rails, friction will still be the problem, right? And the way the train functions, it will still spend about 90% of its energy pushing air out the way. And if the electromagnets are strong enough to hold the train up, they could be able to produce one that repels air molecules. Also, a vacuum-filled generator would be needed to literally give the train a push. Now John tells Steel that he knows that he just been sitting and thinking on that for a while, and by his first glance, that might be the way Steel can get the efficiency that he wanted. Now Steel calls John creative, and that for him to be an architect, he sure does talk like an engineer. But John tells him that he just likes making things, and Steel like, alright bet, I see that. Now come make things for Steelworks. This gonna be John after his first paycheck from Steelworks. Now John and his mom are on the train and we see Supercorp. And I ain't gonna cap, I started reading the current Superman series, but I need to restart. And this was my favorite panel when Supercorp was initially revealed to Clark. So now John asks his mom, this is different from what you remember, ain't it? And she says it's nothing like she remembers. She knew Metropolis got better since Superman came into town, but it was nothing like this. She says it hardly feels like a real place. And I know y'all peep Clark and John flying into the city. And I'm not gonna cap, I like that little add-in because it makes everything feel more connected within the DC universe. Now John's mom asks him how the interview go, and he says great. John and Natasha Irons are doing the exact work that John wants to do. And he says that working with them will be incredible. Then his mom tells him that she's very proud of him and that she might ask him to put her sink back together before he leaves. And he like, what you mean leave? And he tells her that he's not leaving her. John brought her to Metropolis to see what it's like there. Then he asks her, do you think Metropolis is a place where you can live? So she looks out the window and I'm assuming, alright, she thinking about it. Then she looks back at John and changes the subject. And she tells John that she was eavesdropping on his conversation with Steel earlier. She says that he was talking about Batman and Superman and looking for ways to measure up to them. Then she tells John not to ever disrespect himself like that again. And that's because he's the superhero that took his mask off and threw it aside. And she says, that's what a superhero looks like. And she continues to cook John. She says that he's wasting talent that the world needs by taking care of her, knowing that she can do it herself. And she says that if she held him back any longer, she wouldn't be no kind of mother at all. Now John like, Ma, that ain't true. And he says that he will take the job only if it's good for them both. Then he tells her, if you're not ready to move, I'm not going anywhere. Now John asks his mom, is she okay? Then she like, what's going on? Then now John hears a mysterious voice, and that voice says, when the last time we met, you told me to find greater power. And they say that they have. Then we see it's Varen and the other lanterns that he was with, and they are now a part of the Radiant Dead. Now John's mom is in shock, and John is getting ready for anything to happen. Then the Radiant Dead attack him, and he grabs his mom and jumps out the way. Now they ripping a train open to get inside, and that's destroying the train. And John sees the damage they are causing, and he sees his mom praying. And he tells her that she ain't even got to do that because he won't let them hurt her at all. Then Varen enters the train, and he tells John to let his mom pray to her little gods because she has the right to. That's crazy. Then he calls Kotek's name, then Kotek attacks John. But John makes a shield protecting him and his mom. Then Varen calls John clever, and he says that he can't save. Then we see John just steal on all of them. And John like, keep telling me what I can't do. I love that. Side note, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. Alright, boom. That Green Lantern energy that John used to make a shield, all of that Green Lantern energy covered the train as well, protecting everybody that was inside. Now John looks at Varen, he like, buddy, you looking rough. I don't remember stomping you out like that the last time.
Yeah, that's harsh. I ain't gonna laugh at that.
That's a little extra.
I ain't gonna laugh at that.
Yeah.
I cover.
I tell you what, though.
Now Varen gets up and he says that he's glad for his first meeting with John. It taught him he had much more to learn, and it led him to his mistress. And John like, who is you talking about? Then Varen sprouts out these things to attack John, and he says that mortals call her the Revenant Queen. Then we see John get wrapped up in these tendrils, and he says that he has never heard of her. Then Varen says that she knows him, and that he possesses a weapon that she desires above everything. Then John breaks free from Varen's construct, and he tells Varen like, bro, I told you before, I don't need a ring. Then Varen grabs John by the neck and gets in his face, and he tells him that the Revenant Queen doesn't need a ring either. Then he stabs John in his shoulder. Then he kicks Varen off of him, and Varen says, it's done. Now the Revenant Queen did say that she wanted to punish Jon Stewart, so of course she would send the Radiant Dead to do her bidding. Now we see John bleeding out his arm, and Varen tells him, in another life, you were the Revenant Queen's greatest enemy, the living watchfire that kept the Radiant Dead at bay. Now Varen has potentially turned John into one of the Radiant Dead, and he says that every living thing will follow. Now before I end this video, when Varen said that the Revenant Queen doesn't need a ring, I was like, what was this for then? But I will say that we gonna find out sooner or later. So that was Green Lantern War Journal issue 2. Let's talk about it in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next landing on Planet Rell. God bless, I'm out.